Welcome back to BioMindscape. Today we are going to know about the Miller's-Urey experiment which was conducted by Miller and Urey, and this demonstrated the organic compound including the amino acid that could form a spontaneous form of inorganic precursors under condition that stimulate the early earth. So what was the purpose of this experiment? To test the Operin-Helden hypothesis. This is an hypothesis which suggests that the Earth's early atmosphere was reducing, lowering in the oxygen and facilitating the creation of the organic product. There was a closed system of glass flask and a tubule. One flask contained the boiling water, like the ocean, while the other contained a mixture of gases like methane, ammonia and hydrogen, that is CH4, NH3 and H2, that was exposed to the electric discharge. And what was the result that was obtained? Within a week, the mixture turned deep red. The color changes into the red color, and chemical analysis revealed that formation of 11 to 22 amino acid like glycine, alanine, aspartic acid, these were formed. Amino acid were formed after the reaction occurred within a week. The color changed to the deep red color, and this chemical analysis revealed the formation of 11 to 22 amino acid. What was obtained? 11 to 22 amino acid were obtained: glycine, alanine, aspartic acid and other organic compound. What does this indicate? It is essential molecule for life, and that could form from the non-living matter. This groundbreaking study, we call it Miller's experiment. It is considered the first and perhaps the most important piece of experimental evidence for the prebiotic creations of the amino acid. So the process of Miller and Urey experiment was water was boiled to create a steam, then steam mixed with the gases in the spark chamber. The electric spark triggered the chemical reaction. A condenser then cooled the gas into the rain, which was collected in a trap. After 1 week, they found amino acid, specifically the glycine, alanine and aspartic acid. So this provided the first experiment evidence that the primordial soup theory was possibly proving the building block of the life could form from the spontaneous on the young earth. So which one of the following gas was strictly absent from the spark chamber in the Miller and Urey experiment? It was oxygen. The experiment simulated a reducing atmosphere, which is the characteristics by the total absence of the free oxygen, whereas methane, ammonia and hydrogen were present. In the gaseous mixture used by the Miller, and what was the specific ratio of methane, ammonia and hydrogen? That was 2:1:2. Miller used methane, ammonia and the hydrogen, that is 2:1:2 ratio, to stimulate the primitive Earth's condition. The Miller experiment was designed to test whether the organic molecule could form in the reducing atmosphere. Is it true? The correct answer for this is yes. A reducing atmosphere is electron rich and lack oxygen, which allow the spontaneous synthesis of the complex organic molecule. What did the electric discharge produced by electrodes represent in the context of earlier Earth? It is the lightning. The electric discharge produced by the electrode represent the lightning of the early Earth. High voltage sparks stimulate the lightning strike that would have provided energy for chemical reaction on primitive Earth. After running the experiment for 1 week, which group of organic molecule was found in the ocean trap? That was amino acid that was obtained, including glycine and alanine, which are the building blocks of the protein. In the apparatus, what did the condenser represent? The cooling of the atmosphere and the rain. The condenser cooled the gas and caused the water vapor to turn back into the liquid, stimulating rain falling into the earlier ocean. The Miller-Urey experiment successfully proved that life originated from the non-living matter? No. The experiment proved that the building block of the light could form, but it could not create life itself. While it is false because it was a landmark in providing the chemical evolution. It does not demonstrate the actual formation of the living cell from this molecule. whose hypothesis was Miller's and Urey experiment specifically designed to test, that was Oparin and Helden, where the Miller and Urey provided the first experimental evidence for the Oparin and Helden hypothesis of the chemical evolution. It took several months of continuing the operation before the first amino acid were detected in the apparatus. False. It was week that was required. Miller observed that water had turned pink and red containing organic molecule after only 1 week. Oparin of Russia and Helden of England proposed that the first form of life could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic matter, example the RNA, protein, etc., and that form of life was predicted by chemical evolution, that is, formation of the diverse organic molecule from the inorganic constituent. So the condition on the earth was high temperature, volcanic storm, reducing the atmosphere containing the CH4, methane, and ammonia, etc. And in 1953, S. L. Miller, an American scientist, created the similar condition in a laboratory scale. So that is the Miller experiment which we discussed now. And he created the electric discharge in a closed flask containing the CH4, H2NH3 and water vapor at 8000 degrees Celsius. He observed formation of amino acid in similar experiment, other observation, and formation of sugar, nitrogen base, pigment, and fat. Analysis of the meteoritic content also revealed similar compounds, indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space. With this limited evidence, the first part of the story was revealed, that is the chemical evolution. It was more or less accepted, and we have no idea about how the first self-replicating metabolism capsule of life arose. So the first non-cellular form of life could have originated 3 billion years back, and this would have been giant molecule RNA and protein. Polysaccharide and these capsules reproduce their molecule. Perhaps the first cellular form of life did not possibly originate till about 2000 million years ago. These were probably single cell, and all life form were in a water environment only. So the version of biogenesis was known, and the biogenesis is the first form of life arising slowly through evolutionary forces from non-living molecule, and it is accepted by majority. However, once form, these first cellular organism of life could have evolved in a complex biodiversity of today, and this is fascinating story that is the evolution of life we are going to discuss. The evolution of life form is a scientific theory that explains the diversity of organism developed from one common ancestor over a billion of years through natural selection, a process where better adapted organism survive and reproduce. That was given by Charles Darwin in 1859, and this theory posits that variations in the trait, resource competition, environmental pressure that leads to the biodiversity. What are the key aspects of the theory of evolution? The natural selection, common descendant, then variations, adaptations. Natural selections is the mechanism that drive the evolution. Individuals with the trait better suit to their environment are more likely to survive and pass these traits to their offspring. They pass their traits in natural selection to their offsprings. Whereas common descendant is where the all living organisms are related. They share a common ancestor, and over the time the population branches off and changes. What is variation? Difference among individuals in the population that allow the nature to select the fittest. It will decide the fittest of variation. What is adaptations? That inherit the trait that improve an organism's chances of survival and reproduce in a specific environment. What is evidence of evolution? Paleontological evidence, paleological evidence like fossils, remaining of the life form that are found in the sedimentary rock layers. It always shows that life have changed over geographical time, with distinct species appearing and disappearing. What is competitive anatomy? Where similarities in structure among different species are seen like homologous, that indicates a common ancestor like four limbs of whale, human, and bats. And in molecular biology also, The DNA, RNA, and protein across specific demonstrate the evolutionary relationship. Rapid evolution is observable change. The fast reproductive organisms such as the antibiotic resistance bacteria. This provide real-time evidence. Origin and evolutionary process. Chemical evolution is simple and inorganic molecule on the early earth form that is getting converted into the complex molecule and that lead to the first life form. Then biological evolution is what? Biological evolution is the subsequent gradual modification of these earlier life forms through genetic variation and selection. So the theory of evolution is considered the cornerstone of modern biology and it explains the unity and diversity of the life. Thanks for watching. Do like, share and subscribe BioMindscape.